Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting of Monday, November 27, 2023. Just a reminder that members of the public can be present in the council committee room during the meeting, and also that the webinar will be recorded and published to the city's YouTube site. So the first item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the minutes, and we have two sets of minutes. Tonight we have the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of November 14th, 2023, and we have the regular council meeting of November 14th, 2023. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the Governance and Operations Committee meeting and the regular council meeting, both held on November 14th, 2023, be adopted as circulated. Councillor Martin and Councillor Wilson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And tonight we have a delegation from the regional district at Kootenay Boundary Fire Smart Program update. And we have Charlene Pierce here tonight to do the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Jones, and thank you to the council for allowing me to attend your council meeting for this evening. I just wanted to take about 15 minutes of your time to present to you our RDPB Fire Smart program and our 2023 update. Our program has been underway since the beginning of June, so I just wanted to share our purpose date. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Charlene Pierce. I am the Emergency Program and Fire Smart Coordinator for the Regional District of Kootenay Boundary. So just to share a brief agenda for this evening, so we're going to go over our project goals, our 2023 Fire Smart program priorities, our 2023 activities and education recap, and we'll go through some questions at the end. So our RDPB Fire Smart Program's project goal is through collaboration to deliver quality education that increases public awareness and leads to fire smart actions on private property to reduce the risk to life and property. And our outcome, we hope, is to result through targeted outreach to key stakeholders during the Fire Smart project. The community will better understand its wildfire risk and become a more wildfire resilient community. This is just a snapshot of our partnership that we have with the Trail Health and Environment Program. This was from their newsletter in 2022. We started this partnership in 2022, and over the last 2 seasons, we have partnered with them with their soil testing program. So we have a little tick box on their soil testing program site. So when people can call or email to request a soil assessment to be done on their properties, they can also tick a box, and that gives consent for us to reach out to them. And it gives us their email and their contact information, and then we will provide them with a free Fire Smart home assessment. So when they do get chosen for the soil remediation, they're often replacing soil in their yards, and then they do landscaping changes as well. And with that, we can go in and provide them with a Fire Smart home assessment, as well as our Fire Smart landscaping guide, and we can give them some information on choosing Fire Smart plants, trees, and shrubs, and ground cover as well that is going to be more fire resilient. And just give them that education on the front end so that when they are doing these modifications to their yards, they're choosing fire resistant plants as well. So it's been a great partnership, and we actually had a wait list of 50 residents from the Trail area for this year for us to be able to conduct Fire Smart assessments with. So we hope to continue that partnership going on and going through the coming years. So for 2023, just to recap what our priorities were for our Fire Smart funding grant, we did similar priorities to 2022, although we were expanding the program. So we had a greater focus on our Fire Smart Home Partners program assessments. We increased our staffing and we hired 3 wildfire mitigation specialists on contract from beginning of June until the end of September. As well as some of the funding went to budget towards the added responsibilities to myself as the emergency program coordinator to allow me to be the Fire Smart coordinator for the region as well. And so that funded about 26 weeks of my position, and also gave us the ability to be able to host a Home Partners program workshop, which was a 4-day workshop for our mitigation specialists to get the certification and the training that they need in order to conduct the assessments. We wanted to make sure that we were increasing public engagement through community events, such as farmers markets, public schools, summer day camps. We did some door knocking, some mail outs, and attending various sporting events. We were, some of this funding went to completing or developing our community wildfire resiliency plans for 6 out of 8 of our municipalities. So the other 2 would be the city of Roslyn and the village of Midway, and they operate their own Fire Smart programs, and they've already got CWRPs in place at this time. We were also focusing on critical infrastructure assessments for municipalities, focusing on potable water and facilities that may aid in the response for emergencies. And doing some Fire Smart training and cross training. So we're assisting regional fire departments with funding for wildland training as well. And we are utilizing our Fire Smart video that we developed in 2022 with our 2022 grant funding to increase awareness of a shared responsibility across the region and for people to understand what they can do on and around their properties to prepare for wildfires. If you haven't yet seen the video, I do highly encourage you to take a look at it. The longer version, there's the full version, which is about 13 minutes, but we've clipped it down into 3-minute clips so that we were able to share it in more digestible segments through social media. And then we are going to be hosting 2 Fire Smart days, including offsite debris disposal and shipping service in the spring of 2024. So we are going to have one event here in the East End. It's going to be a whole of community type event where we're going to put out a ton of information ahead of time to let everybody know the date in the spring of 24. And it'll be over a weekend, and we'll pick a central location, perhaps somewhere like Dry Road Park or something where we can have a large bin and a shipping service so people can clean up their yards and then bring their debris down over the course of a weekend so they can get chipped and they don't have to dispose of it on their own. So we're looking to do that likely in April or May of this year. So I do have to mention that our RDPB Fire Smart program would not be possible without the funding from the Union of Eastern Municipalities through their Community Resiliency Investment Program. So the total funding request in order for us to conduct our Fire Smart activities for the 2023 season and in the spring of 2024 costs approximately $487,635. And the budgeted amount for our community welfare resiliency plans was $192,000 for that contract, for a total project cost of $679,605. So I can say I just completed the final report for 2022, and we utilized approximately 73% of the funding that we projected to use. So overall, we had a really successful 2022 season. It's always nice when we don't have to return a bunch of grant funding. So just to do a little bit of a recap so far for our 2023 Fire Smart education. So as I mentioned, our program started the beginning of June. We did receive approval from UBCM at the very end of May. And so we hit the ground running at the beginning of June with our mitigation specialists. So far to date, we've completed 262 Home Partners program assessments across the region. We attended 37 community events, including farmers markets, community days, OCP meetings, fire department open houses, golf and pickleball tournaments, and chamber events and community cleanups. We were trying to get as much awareness as possible, and we were really just trying to be everywhere that we could. in order for people to start noticing who we are and what we were talking about. We conducted weekly educational FireSmart media posts showcasing our FireSmart video series, as well as press releases and radio interviews. We did some radio advertising through Vista Radio in order to do some public engagement and advertising regarding our FireSmart program in order to also recruit people for sign up for free FireSmart assessments. We conducted 10 in-person FireSmart presentations, including the Emergency Preparedness Fair in Rock Creek. Big White Resort has a community cleanup day in June, so we attended that as well. We went to preschools, preschools came to visit us. We attended kids camps in the summer, senior centers, Serba Safety Day, fire prevention days, and board meetings. We also did 5 pop-up events. We wanted to make sure that we were bringing the education to the populated areas. So, you know, we went to engage residents with Ember or with the FireSmart booth. We would just set up a table and set up our 10 by 10 tent, and we would go to grocery stores and post offices and gas stations and beaches, so that people would run into us on their day-to-day errands as well. And then we did a community mail out for some of our harder to reach areas, some of the areas that are much more vast geographically. And we also did a neighborhood door knocking to engage our residents in a quick 5-minute curbside assessment, highlighting some areas of improvement at each residence. And we specifically targeted areas such as Lower Annabelle, Lower Woodfield, mid-August, right after the highly visible wildfire in behind the Tunnel Pub. And then we also targeted a bunch of neighborhoods in behind Bonita Mall as well that have also been impacted by wildfire in the past seasons. This is what our door knocker looked like. So it's got all of our information here at the bottom for people to contact us at our FireSmart program. And then it's got the information at the front that kind of gives a little bit of attention, saying that their property is at risk and they're in at-risk area for wildfire, which is really every area in their KB. And then there's just some quick little check boxes of things that we can do a curbside assessment. So we're not going on their properties other than just going to their mailbox to put these in. And we're ticking the things that we notice might need some improvement or attention. And then they have our contact information in order to contact us for a full assessment. Here's a picture of our kids camp at Camp Kawabanga at Gyro Park. It was a highly successful event. It was the first year that we had done it, and there were about 42 kids there, ages 6 to 12. And so we kicked off the first week of August with our kids camp at Camp Kawabanga, and then we also did the Beaver Valley Kids Camp in Fruitvale, which had about another 40 kids. So we reached a total of 85 elementary age kids and 8 camp leaders in 1 week. So it was a ton of fun. You can see Ember the mascot showed up. We had 2 different FireSmart education stations focusing on the meaning of FireSmart, wildfire awareness, as well as the different types of fuel that can cause a wildfire, what makes them grow, fire prevention around your home, and understanding different FireSmart building materials, fire resistant plants. And then we also talked about campfire safety as well. Then we finished off our learning session with a huge water fight. So we wanted them to remember us, and so we invited some of the trail firefighters down and had a big water fight with Ember. So it was a lot of fun. And the camp leaders were really ecstatic because it took away half a day of what they had to do with the kids. So I think we'll be going back there next year. And then this actually also resulted in some really great press for us as well. We had some press releases in the City of Trail in the newspaper, as well as Roslyn News, and I think it even actually reached the boundaries. So it was really good to see us engaging with the kids as well. Next is our community planning and development consideration. So as I mentioned, we are completing critical infrastructure assessments in each municipality. So for trail, in consultation with the Public Works Department, we selected the water treatment plant in Sunningdale as our first priority. So I will be conducting that assessment myself. We're just over halfway done conducting the CI assessments for the municipalities. We wanted to wait until our residential program was done. So we're just trying to finish those up before the end of this year. And then we can hand those results over to each municipality, and each municipality can determine if they would like to take some of those mitigative recommendations that we provide in the report. And we can then apply for additional funding in 2024 in order to be able to do some of that work on some of these properties as well. So the funding should be approximately, I think it's around $53,000 of what we can apply for in order for upgrades and mitigation that come forward in these reports. And we are completing, so currently developing our community wildfire resiliency plans. So the contract was awarded to VA Blackwell and Associates, and the project is currently underway, and we're currently in the background review phase. So many of you, or if not all of you, may have received a questionnaire from our consultant. And I highly encourage everyone, even if you can't fill out all of the questions, but just fill out as much as you know, because we really encourage everybody's participation. We really want these plans to be thorough and address the concerns of council as well as key personnel within the city as well. And if anyone has any questions about them, please don't hesitate to reach out. So we're also currently reviewing the value in amending the official community plans and zoning bylaws for our electoral areas. So our electoral areas are one step ahead of where we're at right now as far as the CWRPs and the planning goes. We chose the electoral areas first just because they were at higher risk essentially than the individual municipalities. So last year we focused on the electoral areas, and this year is the municipalities. We can only do one or the other at a time, so we had to pick. And so once the community wildfire resiliency plans are done, there's likely going to be recommendations in those reports for each municipality as well to potentially look at establishing development permit areas for wildfire hazard prone areas, and potentially amend the OCPs. And that's up to the city to decide if they want to move forward with that. And there's also additional funding for that too, where we can provide to be able to hire consultants to do that review for you as well, so it doesn't take up city staff. Those plans are, as I mentioned, are underway, and the draft plans are scheduled to be complete for March 1st, with final reports to be done for April 15th of next year. So on the interagency cooperation and emergency planning, so we had staff attend the Fire Smart Resiliency and Training Summit in Vancouver, BC in May. It's a very well attended conference. We had, it's over the course of 3 days, and there was a few thousand people that were actually in attendance at that conference. And next year, or 2024, it's up in Prince George. So we also established a Community Fire Smart Resiliency Committee in September, and we'll host 2 meetings annually. The purpose of the committee is to strengthen collaboration between key partners, including local communities and provincial agency staff, with interested and effective parties to coordinate, plan, and share information on how to successfully implement the 7 Fire Smart disciplines. Communities that prepare in advance of a major wildfire event are less likely to have to experience a disaster. And the committee will assist with ensuring the sustainability of our wildfire resiliency initiative as well. Our emergency management hosted an emergency preparedness tabletop exercise in Big White on wildfire readiness, and we included fire service personnel from all across the region. So we did have Chief Derby and Deputy Chief Gallimore attend as well, and then additional fire chiefs from across the region to participate in the tabletop exercise. And then we provided funding for wildfire readiness training and cross-training with BC Wildfire Service for firefighters throughout the RDPP as well. And then just specifically for the trail and area Fire Smart activities, just a bit of a recap and timeline. So this spring we were hiring our wildfire mitigation specialists. We conducted our program preparation. We completed a structure protection course for 50 Kootenay Boundary Regional Fire Rescue members, and we hosted it here in Trail. Delivered wildfire mitigation specialist training, and as I mentioned, attended the conference in Vancouver. In the summer, our media campaigns began. Our mitigation specialists started their kickoff week in their communities in the beginning of June, attending events and completing assessments. Hosted an information booth at the CDT Symposium. And our Fire Smart video social media campaign began in July. We also attended farmers markets, kids camps, and our pop-up events, as I mentioned, and began our door knocking campaign. And then in the fall, our residential program wrapped up, and we conducted 46 assessments in the trail area. And then attended the Service Solution Safety Day and started our CWRP data collection and document sharing with VA Blackwell. And then hosted our first Community Fire Smart and Resiliency Committee meeting. And our consultants will complete their field assessments at the beginning of December. And now we are just working on attending all of the municipal council meetings in order to get the program updates as well. And I'm already starting to prepare for the 2024. And on our last slide, I just wanted, and I just wanted to mention we have a few upcoming projects that are of highlight. So we are going to be looking at introducing the rebate program for property owners. So they will be able to apply for rebates for up to $5,000 in order to do mitigation work on and around their property. And those come from the recommendations that we provide in our Fire Smart assessments. We will also have some smaller rebates of around $1,000 for some of the people that don't have a ton of work to do, but have some vegetation or something like that they want to replace. We do, we will require board approval for that as it is outside of our original Fire Smart framework. We are continuing the CWRP development as well, and then we are planning an emergency planning tabletop exercise again for wildfire readiness, and it's going to be hosted by the City of Rossland, inviting those other all of our East End municipalities to participate in a mock EOC tabletop exercise as well. So we'll be reaching out to each of you to see who'd like to join that. And as I mentioned, our Fire Smart Community Cleanup Day. And then, so lastly, I wanted to share our exciting partnership with BCAA. So BCAA has partnered on with Fire Smart BC to offer program incentives and help support at-risk and remote communities of the province to begin their Fire Smart journey. So I would like to share specifically the Fire Smart Home Partners Program assessment discount through BCAA. So there is more information that you can find on the BCAA website through Fire Smart Initiative. And what they are offering is for anyone who gets a Fire Smart home assessment completed, they will they just need to take their assessment in and they can get a $100 discount on their existing and new home insurance. And then once they have completed those mitigation recommendations, they will be eligible for a 5% discount on their home insurance. So this is an exciting opportunity to be able to give a little bit more of an incentive to homeowners that do insure with BCAA. The Cooperators is also on board with a similar program. And I suspect after the devastating wildfire season this year that there's going to be many more insurers that are going to come up as well. So the promotion has been in effect since August 15th of this year. So for those who have not had their own Fire Smart assessment completed, I encourage everyone to be added to our wait list for next spring. And it'll just give you a little bit of an understanding as to what's involved in the Fire Smart assessment. And then it'll help assist with talking to residents and creating that awareness, as well as have a better understanding to be able to communicate to them what's involved. So it is completely free of charge, and it is customized, and it is specific to you and to your house, and nobody else gets that information as well. So just feel free to contact me if anyone's interested to be added to the list next year. And that is everything. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or if there's anything that anyone wants to go in greater detail about, feel free to contact me. We can have a discussion offline.
Okay. Councillor Hanson.
I just want to say thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's really great getting kids, understanding that, like being involved with them at that level. Because kids watch the news and they want to understand, and I think making it not scary for them and kind of like understanding how their homes can be made safer for the properties or whatever. And I think it's great. And the OCP part, because that's something that is going to be in our future very soon, hopefully. That's something that we look forward to reaching out about.
Perfect. Yeah, it was, with fire prevention, I've had experience being able to instruct or educate students on fire prevention, and they're like sponges, and they bring the information home to their parents, and And it's a really valuable resource. And I was very, very impressed about the knowledge that some of the kids had already on wildfire. So yeah, it was a great opportunity. Thank you.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you for your presentation. I was hoping you could expand a little bit more on the Fire Smart or the Community Fire Response and Resilience Committee. So just in terms of goals of it and who sits on it for our area.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently right now it's just in the very beginning stages. And initially, so what we did for our first meeting is we did an entire regional committee, and likelihood is once these CWRPs are developed, we will break up into smaller committees because there's going to be different priorities on, say, the east end than there are going to be in the boundary. And so initially on our committee, we invited key personnel from within the RDKB, so within our planning department or critical infrastructure and environment, and as well as our fire service personnel. So we have somebody in attendance from each of the fire departments across the region. BC Wildfires on there. We've also got wildfire risk reduction. So they are the ones that are working for the Ministry of Forest, and they're doing fuel treatments that have been prioritized by the province. And with that as well, we're able, with our CWRPs for the electoral areas, there were 3 electoral areas that had some fuel treatment recommendations. We're able to share that information with BC Wildfire as well as the Wildfire Risk Reduction Program, and then they can work those into their work plan and try to look to see if it maybe is going to be incorporated into another project that they might be conducting on their own. And then they ideally could take care of some of that for us as well. In addition to that, we have a Fire Smart committee that is on the Mount Bellevue Ski Resort. They have developed their own committee, so we did have some representatives from there. And really, anyone is welcome if they share an interest and they want to focus on wildfire resiliency specifically for their community. We are open for them to reach out to us, and if they'd like to sit on our committee, we'd be more than happy to welcome them on it as well. We wanted to focus on more of a smaller group at first, just to introduce it, but we reached out to each CAO as well throughout the municipalities and asked for them either to attend or send a delegate to be able to be present on that. Like you were away at EDCM, so don't worry. We didn't miss it. So yeah, it was a bit of a tough, is a bit of a challenging schedule for us because EDCM was the week before and everybody would have been returning to the office the day of our meeting. We unfortunately had to work around the schedule of our consultant to deliver the CWRP presentation for our electoral areas. So we will host another meeting in the spring, and we will send ample time and information. So anyone who wants to attend that will be able to attend.
And thanks I looked at the survey and then deleted it because I thought that I could answer everything. So I will remove it from my.
If you need me to send you another copy, let me know.
Thank you. I'll just answer what I can.
Yeah, no, I understand. I tried to kind of catch everybody and let everyone know ahead of time that was coming out. But again, that information also has to get cascaded down, and some people get it. So I apologize for that. But if anyone needs me to send that survey again, just give me a shout and I'd be happy to share it. And I appreciate there are probably some questions in there. We value you.
Great. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
The new Fire Smart can be so interesting. Really, that was such an interesting report.
I'm just thinking about
I tried to narrow down as
the poor
quick as I
mascot.
could.
Super.
I also
Yeah.
they probably started the water fight.
Yeah.
Those little packets for everyone just to get a better understanding of what the Fire Smart program is.
Oh, great.
You got a
Thank
cute
you.
little ember pin in there and a Starburst and a Starburst. And that's just make sure you open the packet. Just you can, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
You're-
Chris,
They're very similar to the packets I sent kids, but they have a little bit more fun word search things and stuff like that, so.
excellent job.
Yeah. Very good.
Thanks very much.
will you be part of the December 6th tabletop at the airport this time?
We actually haven't gotten that information yet. They probably, it'll come through the fire department, and so they haven't engaged us in the emergency management side, but if they want the fire department to join, they might be able to see them. It's very interesting. It's really actually good for me to know both on the emergency management as well as fire department. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your input, Mark.
He'll be back.
Yeah.
Man of many words.
He talked so much last time. And
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the public question period, and I don't see anyone here. No one's online with public questions. Okay, thank you. Item number 4 is bylaws, and we have the garbage and waste bylaw amendment, bylaw number 2932, 2023 for its first, second, and third readings. And the recommendation is before you. Have someone make that recommendation. Councillor Martin, Councillor Benson. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. No one opposed. Carried unanimously. On to our council committee reports, and Councillor Benson, you're up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. On November 22nd, along with everyone on council, attended the Community Futures South Kootenay. Notice their new name, changed from Community Futures Greater Trail to Community Futures South Kootenay. We attended their holiday open house. It was an excellent turnout. A lot of other elected officials from the area. Some of their clients were there, and the board was there. So it was a really well hosted event, emceed by Wayne Kelly. This morning I attended the Community Safety Task Force meeting along with Councillor Martin, and he'll report on that. And I just want to remind everybody, or tell everybody, that on Saturday, December 2nd, from 11 to 2, there's a Winter Wonderland open house at the Riverfront Center. There'll be a hot chocolate bar, gingerbread cookie decorating, a candy cane hunt. The community choirs will be there singing, and I'm really excited for that because the acoustics in that building is quite lovely. So I think it'll be a really nice event, and everyone is welcome. That is my report.
Hot chocolate bar.
Hot chocolate bar.
Yes.
I was there when the whipped cream was purchased from Costco for the hot chocolate bar yesterday. So
Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On behalf of council, I attended the following events and meetings. On the 16th, along with yourself and the rest of council, I attended the Métis flag raising here at City Hall. Thank you to all of those involved to bring this event forward. Also on the 16th, I attended the LCC TDS monthly meeting where BC Housing presented to the board. That evening, I also attended the Business After Business event at Moving Mountains. On the 17th, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of Next Gen Transit and Faro Foods who are putting on the 10th annual Stuff the Bus event here on Trail. Last year, Stuff the Bus brought in 4,200 pounds of non-perishable food, along with winter coats, as well as $70,600 in cash donations. I do hope that has been repeated again this year. On the 22nd, I attended the Community Futures open house, along with the rest of council. It was a very enjoyable evening. Lastly, on the 23rd, along with yourself, Councillor Cashel and Hanson, we attended the tour of the hub facility in Nelson, gaining a better understanding of how Nelson's hub provides services to its vulnerable population. And lastly, that evening, we attended the grand opening or opening of sorts of the new City Hall and Chamber Chamber location in Russell, which is very nice. That is the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Capital.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On November the 15th, I attended the Society for the Protection and Care of Seniors Committee as a volunteer city rep. The committee asked me for an update on the status of the Senior Advisory Committee. And I informed this committee that there was no change in status since the committee had received a letter that Ms. Lucchini had forwarded them on August 30th, 2023, sorry. I told the committee that I would keep them updated on any changes to that status. On November the 15th, I attended a library board meeting on invitation from the library director, Samantha Murphy. Mr. McClure also attended to this November 15th board meeting to explain to the board the $10,000 discrepancy between what was requested by the board and what was actually approved. There was an explanation given and some discussion around that, and Mr. McClure also explained the new reporting format for the library budget, and you can expect to see that budget presented to council on December the 11th. The board, Director Murphy, appreciates Mr. McClure's attendance and his time that he dedicated to that presentation. On November the 18th, I was honored and privileged to represent the city at the Legion at the South Kootenay South Métis Society banquet. It was a fun evening. Some of us won prizes, some of us didn't, but I don't want to get into that because Tia is quite sensitive around that. But it was a nice evening. I want to thank Bert Servatius, the president of that society, and her committee for inviting us and for just putting on a really lovely evening. And there was a lot of raffle prizes that Mert and her team had solicited from local businesses. It was very impressive, actually, how many. It was over 50 raffle prizes, and it's surprising. Terry and I were fortunate enough to win one, but next year maybe Tia will have better luck. Anyway, I digress. I'd also like to touch on, like Sir Butler mentioned about going to the hub. Found it very informative, but I do want to publicly acknowledge that Dr. Karen Goodison, our local health officer with Interior Health, carpooled up with us and accompanying us on the tour as well. It was just a really good opportunity to collaborate on a very kind of a personal level with somebody who is a very strong for our marginalized in this region. So I appreciate her attendance, and I appreciate my council colleagues and I know some couldn't make it, but it was an informative tour for sure. Yesterday, I was invited by Jacqueline Cameron to attend a memorial on Spokane Street, approximately 75 meters from where we're sitting here tonight. Her daughter, Chelsea Cameron, had died of a suspected toxic drug overdose 1 year earlier on November the 26th, 2022. That was 12 days after we were sworn in to council. Chelsea had left the detox program in Castlegar the previous day, and without housing and without post-detox care, she returned to the streets of Trail, where a relapse was inevitable and ultimately did occur. Chelsea had not been offered, there was no immediate detox care available for her. And this is a common problem that we're seeing in the province. The chief coroner, and Minister Whiteside refer to this as a gap in the continuum of care. And this gap is very concerning. Chelsea was one of 2,272 British Columbians who died of toxic drugs in 2022, and is one of over 13,000 lives that we've lost since this was declared a public health emergency in April of 2016. I assured Jacqueline that I would always remember Chelsea by name, not just consider her a statistic. And I assured her that Mayor Jones and my council colleagues will continue to advocate to the provincial government for a provincial strategy to build treatment centers and also for supportive housing for Trail. This morning, I was able to attend a workshop kind of spearheaded by Councillor Wilson, facilitated by Sandy Lucchini on our bylaws, just an overview. It was very informative, and I appreciate Sergeant Michael Sinwich and Bylaw Officer Bobby Briscoe for participating in that workshop. And that concludes my report, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel, for that report. Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. November 16th was a super busy day. Attended the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee meeting, followed by the Métis flag raising ceremony at City Hall. And I have to say, I was saddened to see that there wasn't more collaboration between the School District 20 and the schools to ensure that more children were able to attend this year. Hopefully this can be resolved for next year. Then I wanted to thank the Trail Times for their incredibly successful ladies shopping night downtown Trail. It was the first after-hour shopping downtown I've seen since COVID, and it was incredibly well attended. So good job to them for that work and economic development and bringing people to downtown core, as well as the Trail Smoke Eaters for supplying individual hockey players to walk around to make sure people were safe. So that was great. On November 18th, I attended the Métis banquet with Councillors Cashel, Martin, and yes, I was the one that did not win a prize. However, I was the one that helped do out the raffle tickets for everybody with them and volunteered to help them, but maybe next year. The 21st, there's supportive housing meeting, and I am proud to share that we will be getting a formal update from BC Housing in mid-December regarding construction of the new shelter, and that BC Housing is reviewing all of the concerns brought forward, and they are working with all partners, IH and Trail Association Community Living, to create a plan for addressing or mitigating where necessary the concerns, and compiling a more detailed report to be brought forward to council either in December or sometime in January. On the 22nd, I attended the South Kootenay or Community Futures South Kootenay open house with all of council. It was a great event and it was well attended by all of council, other municipalities and local businesses. On the 23rd, toured the hub in Nelson with councillors Butler, Cashel, Mayor Jones. And it was nice to see understand how it was established with local partners. It was a bunch of different groups that decided they need someone to coordinate services and to facilitate. They've got funding through federal funding through Getting to Home program, and plus they have funding through other partners. So it was interesting to kind of understand how that model was created. Attended a tour of new Roslyn City Hall and Roslyn Yards with the rest of neighboring municipalities, and as far as Grand Forks attended. So it was nice to catch up with them. Just also to note, there's been lots of conversations about public use of controlled substances. I'm happy to, share that Bill 34 restricting public consumption of illegal substances has received royal assent as of November 8th. And I'm pleased to say that not only does this act change where in public spaces individuals are unable to use illegal substances, the act now allows our RCMP to immediately seize and remove any illegal substances found and any packages containing those substances, regardless of the amount of illegal substances found, which will then in turn take more drugs off of our streets. I am just awaiting confirmation from the minister of the commencement date of this legislation. Thank you. All for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On behalf of council, I attended the following meetings. On the 16th with mayor and council, I also attended the Métis flag raising ceremony. I just want to echo Councillor Hanson's comment about the school district not providing the buses to bring the kids there. It was a little bit disappointing. On November 17th, I attended an RDKB education and advocacy meeting via Teams. The highlight was discuss possible resolutions for the AKBLG, which just for everybody's information must be submitted by February 16th, 2024. Three of them that were discussed, which will be moving to the board for discussion, were number one was tax exemptions for volunteer firefighters and first responders being increased from $3,000 per year to $10,000 per year. Another one was to keep the provincial parks open later in the year. And the other one, which I'm not sure is going to make much headway because it wasn't taken too good at that meeting, was to reduce the number of days open for deer hunting to help the dwindling population. On November 18th, with I attended the Métis Community Banquet at the Trail Legion, and I won a blanket. Nick won a basket.
Aww.
It was well attended by the public. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hanson wasn't unfortunate enough not to win anything that night, but I'm sure next year she'll clean up. It was really cool. It was a good event. No, I'm not going to say anything else. We didn't plan that. We just kind of had lived tonight. On November the 22nd, I also attended with Mayor and Council and Community Futures South Kootenai Open House. Great opportunity to have conversations with members of the local business committee and other elected officials. On the 23rd, I attended a Trail Historical Society meeting. Highlights were the Treasurer's Report, 2024 budget, Museum and Archives Manager's Report, Collections Coordinator's Report. On the 23rd, with Mayor Jones and Councillors Butler, Cashel and Hanson attended the City of Rawson Open House at the Rawson Yards. We got to tour like a 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartment in the building. It's very well done. I was very impressed. Along with the council chambers, and CEO McClure was there too. We forget that he comes to these things too. So got to start mentioning you in here. Sorry for that. My apologies.
There's a snack.
Yeah, good snack. And this morning we had a community safety task force meeting. It was attended by 15 members of the committee, I should say. We had an update from Sergeant Wysenowicz from the RCMP's perspective of responses in the last month. Regional Fire Chief Derby, he had some comments, and he was emphasizing to the business community the importance of properly disposing of pallets and cardboard at the rear of their buildings to assist in decreasing the contribution to fire loads. Apparently the material is missing, and the next thing you know, there's fires happening throughout the town occasionally. Sergeant Wysenowicz did make a comment that he himself witnessed somebody pushing a shopping cart around town, and they had a fire inside the basket. He stopped and said, "Please stop that." And so they did. So on December the 11th, at our next community safety task force meeting, we're going to have Dr. Sue Pollock, who's a medical health officer with Interior Health. She's going to be presenting regarding the winter weather guidance for the unhoused population. And we're going to invite the rest of council to come if you're interested. And we're thinking that this might not be a big enough room because of as many people that come on with that committee. And Councillor Benson mentioned the room over at the Community Futures South Kootenai, where we attended that event that night. We'll look into that too. That's it. And as usual, if you have any specific questions regarding any of these meetings, feel free to comment with me at any time. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Wilson.
Nothing to report, Your Worship. I think a lot of it's already been said, so pass it off to you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilson. I know, for my report, everybody has said everything that I've attended, and you've all been there, and I just want to say thank you. Anyway, thank you. That's my report for tonight. Yeah. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So on to the consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda, and it is the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, UBCM meeting follow-up. And the recommendation is that the item on the consent agenda be received for information. Councillor Benson, Councillor Hanson, all those in favor? I just want to say I appreciate the follow-up letters that we have, but you know, it's almost like they don't go far enough for us. It's great that they recognize that we were there and, you know, presented the community, but yeah. So it may have to follow up in the follow-up letter. New business. Does anyone have any new business?
I have just a sprinkle of new business, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Cashel.
I would like to publicly congratulate Councillor Doug Wilson for his engagement. Congratulations, Marissa. Congratulations, Doug. And I say that on behalf of Mayor Jones, PCA McClure, acting corporate officer, Sandy Machini, and my esteemed colleagues.
That doesn't fall under land, legal, or labor, eh?
No, not yet. Oh, congratulations. That's my new business, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. I just have one item that I wanted to bring up under new business, and Councillor Hanson did talk about it in her report, and it was having to do with Bill 34. And I know that Councillor Benson previously requested that staff do a report on the use of decriminalized drugs in our parks and our playgrounds. And so the motion that I want to make is that the new government, or the government, has brought in new legislation on the decriminalization of drugs. And I would like to have staff, probably before the end of that report, incorporate the new legislation and bring it to council as a new and complete bylaw with the changes, just so that we aren't going back again to redo the bylaw again. That's my motion, and I don't know if someone wants to. Councillor Benson and the seconder, Councillor Wilson. Any comments on that?
I think it's a good idea. I know we reviewed the smoking bylaw, and there's language in there that I think we could use to support this as well. I think it's good to have it written in our bylaws in case there is any changes that we still have it locally.
So just for clarity, this would be a new bylaw that you're wanting to have in place that incorporates what the provinces.
Well, it's coming out of the report that I believe that staff is working on, because the motion was for staff to look at all the parks in our community to see.
Yes, I don't know if necessarily was a bylaw. I think so. Again, coming out of that, I think that there was, we were waiting on these works, but if we're looking at the creation of a bylaw that we were looking at after we found out kind of what the provinces had and being able to work on it, that's what we're looking for. I apologize. This was before we had the legislation, and I think that we need to talk about that we would now incorporate that. So I think that we may already have what we're looking for.
Okay.
Already kind of on.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to do is just save time, because if it comes back with that's not complete, then we have to go back again. I think it's important that the community sees that we are doing something to alleviate what's happening in the community.
And again, we have not really had much time to even tackle that sort of thing. So what will be interesting, I think, is as Councillor Hanson mentioned, the fact that individuals that are using them in places that aren't supposed to be, I think they will likely correct their behavior rather quickly, just due to the fact of the consequences that currently they're not having to deal with confiscation and that sort of thing. But I think that might be more of the bylaw itself will be something that we can work on the bylaw. Hoping is that enforcement tools from RCMP is going to be probably more of what's going to be what the public wants us to see, and hopefully see a good result compared to our bylaw. So, but yes, we certainly can take that into consideration. But I would think that we would come back with something. It's never perfect a lot of times on bylaws, and so if there's more adjustments to be made, then that's part of what council does, is that they look at it and say it's missing this or that. So,
Okay, just to clarify, because would not legislation then supersede, and then we would basically then, if there was any amendments to it, any amendments have to be anything contravening this has to be then approved, has to be consulted by regional health board and medical health officer for anything that is if it's going to regulate, prohibit, or impose requirements other than what is in this legislation.
Right. And so I think one of the questions that came from Councillor Benson was, what is in our parks? What out of our inventory do we have swing set? Do we have the things that allow that to be in place? And which ones do we need to figure out? Do we need to have some sort of additional bylaw strength that, and again, like you said, taking the steps that we need to be involved. But I think that, if my understanding is correct, I think that's what we were looking at, was the concern that, yes, this park has a swing in it. Therefore, you don't have to worry about that. It's been covered by legislation. We have this one that does not. What is it that we need to have?
So I believe they updated it since the,
They have.
right, so it's not just the structure, it is it's like all parts.
And so
Yeah.
that's where I.
So the new,
So your list now, make that reflect like you come. Does the
That's,
city still need to do an inventory? Is it necessary?
I'd rather like see a bylaw out of it, and I may be like completely off base. I'm just thinking, you know, when we put language in a collective agreement, a lot of times it's the same as like BC law, but we put it in there so that if the government changes and things change provincially, that we still, our employees are still have those rights. And so I think, you know, we have a smoking bylaw, and there's provincial rules about smoking within distances. I don't see why we can't have one for this as well. Does that make sense?
I think so. Like, again, us coming together, even putting the work together so that we can come and say, council, do we have this right?
Yes.
Especially in the steps that, Councilor Hanson had said, is, we might want to do this, but we better talk to Ms. Pollock as far as like, does this fit with, you know, are we offside with Burlington? So there's some work to be done. But, yeah.
Okay, so, we took a vote. Did we take the vote?
Can you repeat the
Okay, we
motion
have-
again, please? What is our motion?
I didn't make.
The motion
Yeah,
is
thank
to, based on Bill 34, the government new legislation on the decriminalization of drugs, have staff incorporate those new changes into the bylaw that staff is bringing forward from the previous motion that Councilor Benson made on the inventory of the parks and what it looks like for drug use and playgrounds. And so we had Councilor Benson's first moved it. Councilor Wilson seconded it. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Is there any other new business? Councilor Hanson.
Just as a reminder to everybody, the Santa Parade is on December 15th at 5:30. Same location as last year. We are all so excited and hope to see you all there.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is adjournment. Councilor Cashel and Councilor Hanson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.